TransUnion is a global leader in information services and one of the big three global credit bureaus. It needed to evolve in order to adapt. The world was changing, and TransUnion was held back with a legacy architecture that did not allow them to address their evolving customer requirements. Driven by their private equity owners and new executive leadership, the company engaged in a transformation that required them to reimagine their business, to re-engineer their core services and reinvent their customer engagement. This transformation provided the business agility that brought TransUnion public and tripled their share price. The question, of course, is how? Well, let's find out. Please welcome, from enterprise software company Initio, senior strategic consultants Kristian Desch and Sheehy, and TransUnion's executive vice president for global operations, Lisa Olmstead. Hello, Kristian, Ed, and Lisa.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hey, look, thank you so much for joining us, all of you. Now, I am aware that you have an awful lot to get through, and probably the last thing you want to be doing is stood here exchanging small talk with me. So I'm going to get off the stage and let you get on with it. But I believe that you have a slide, so we're going to bring that up for you, I think, first of all.
So I'm just going to start with a question for Lisa. So Lisa, can you describe for us like the history behind how TransUnion undertook a digital transformation, the strategy, and really what you learned during the execution?
Sure thing, Ed. Thanks. As mentioned, we in 2013 we embarked on a program that we called Project Spark, and the point of that was you can't start a fire without a spark, and so we were really trying to start a fire within TransUnion. Aligned with the expectations of our new private equity owners that we were going to accelerate and expand the business. We were, historically, I'd say known as one of the big three credit bureaus, but we really wanted to be an insights and information company. And so we knew we had to do things better, faster, cheaper, differently to achieve that. We were also kind of at an interesting point in time where there was a fundamental shift in technology happening, and we knew that. And we knew that the traditional technologies that we were using, primarily mainframe-based services, were not equipped to deal with the data explosion that we were seeing, both in volumes and the types of data. And we knew that we could get a marketplace advantage if we could figure out how to exploit that and use technology as a strategic enabler instead of an obstacle, as what it was, many times viewed as in our business, as an obstacle, kind of a means to an end. So we were really looking for that kind of better, faster, cheaper mindset and model to take us forward.
So, changing your core platform on the mainframe was a big execution risk. It had been approached with some sensitivity. Can you explain some of the thinking behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we the majority of our TransUnion revenue was running on this platform. So you're right, it was a big step for us. But we knew first and foremost that what we really wanted to do was increase availability and flexibility of that system and our core platform and get it off the mainframe. We also knew that at some point we wanted to move to the cloud in the future. We were not willing or ready, maybe ready is the better word, to really jump all the way in and go straight from mainframe to the cloud. But we wanted to make sure we'd set a foundation when we did this move off the mainframe so that we could move to the cloud in the future. I think one of the other big things that we did is we wanted to transform our organization. We wanted to change to have kind of fully embrace agile and create a team within our technology group that were true like big data technologists. And so there was a culture shift we were trying to drive there. As you know, TransUnion grew up, we were in a big period of M&A during this time as well. And so we had a lot of silos between the businesses we were acquiring as well as the data and types of data and data sources we were acquiring were all very siloed. And we knew the only way we were going to be successful was to break down those silos, both as an organization as well as across the data. We also had to simplify our IT environment because of all of these acquisitions and growth that we were doing. We had a really complex technology environment. We had multiple application platforms, many of them performing similar functions. We had, I think, every infrastructure stack that was being made at the time running somewhere in our shop, whether it was mainframe, Linux, Windows. And then in terms of our data assets, which is really, our bread and butter, we knew that we needed much better insight and linkage across those data assets. We needed much better R&D tools for our data analysts to use to be able to handle larger and more complex data sets. And we need to just be faster to market, not just in building products and solutions, but in being able to integrate them into our environment and kind of cleaning up and having less plumbing costs every time we had a new solution that we were going to plug in. I'd say last but not least, sorry, just the other thing I haven't really mentioned yet is I'd say, obviously there's a cost factor here too. We knew that, the mainframe, while incredibly reliable, it results in really high hardware and software licensing costs, particularly when you're trying to scale. And we were trying to change the mindset to say, we want the growth of our technology costs to lag the growth of our revenue. And with the speed of technology change, and we knew we wanted to always be a little bit with the technology cost behind our revenue growth.
Right. So to kind of paraphrase, you were kind of damned if you didn't. If you stay with your traditional model, you were, to go forward with this transformation was obviously a lot of operational risk, but you felt that you needed business agility to thrive and survive in the market. And so that's as much about culture change, which is part of the theme that a lot of people talk about, as well as the technology change. And you had to do both in common. Can you maybe talk about how you approach that, and in the context of this, how you came to decide on Ab Initio as a technology platform to help, not just with the technical mission, but to help drive something else?
Yeah, we, as I said a little bit earlier, we wanted our technology team to become big data technologists and to be on the cutting edge of, what's next in technology. And as we all know, technology moves a mile a minute. That is no small feat. But we felt it was critically important that this endeavor be undertaken by TransUnion for TransUnion, and we really wanted it to be done internally. So as we thought about what does it take to be a big technology, kind of a technologist in that arena, we knew we wanted to be able to store and process just vast amounts of data and be able to link and match data across a wide variety of data sets. We had to be able to solve for both batch and online. The batch business in our world is very, very huge data sets delivered kind of period in specific period points of time. But our online business is very high volume, low latency, very heavy payload kind of transaction, where accuracy and speed are equally critical given the kinds of decisions folks are making based on that data. And I think, just as importantly, we wanted to be able to run this and be portable. And so again, thinking we knew we were going to go to the cloud at some point in the future, we wanted to be able to run our applications on any hardware at any price point, kind of run it anytime, anywhere globally within our infrastructure and our ecosystems. So we knew what we wanted as we started looking for our partner. Ab Initio had been at this point even already a longtime customer of TransUnion. We've been working with you guys already to solve some of our harder data problems. We'd already used you guys for some stuff in our production credit data matching logic and in our profile and linking. So we knew how you guys performed in production from an application suite perspective. As we got ready to go on the Spark journey, there was a couple of key things we did that I think cemented the deal for us with Ab Initio. One is we said analytics is critically important to us. We're going to try and envision this new analytics environment as, I'll say, a test, dip our toe in the water test. And we were able to go from concept to production in about 4 months with that. And it was a significant gain for our analysts and our data scientists over the legacy environment that we had. We then said, okay, we've got a bunch of different data processing scenarios. Let's see if Ab Initio can do it. Can they actually prove it? And I'd say we took about 6 weeks, not months, not years, but in a very short time frame, 6 weeks, we were able to show that we could do this massive batch processing as well as this online credit reporting processing that we were looking for with Ab Initio. And so as we approached Ab Initio to talk about that, I think the other things that really cemented the deal for us were we were interested in re-architecting, not just porting. And that re-architecture had to be done what we called silently, meaning no impact to our customers and no impact to our associates in our analytics space, in our sales space, our product development teams. And you guys were very interested in helping us re-architect stuff. I think we also were very important to us to have a partner, not a vendor. We wanted this to be done by TU associates. We wanted to teach those TU associates the best technologies they could learn, but we wanted really smart folks kind of partnered up right next to us to do that and to help us transform both our way of thinking, building, testing, and working. So I think those were all the reasons that Ab Initio just made sense for us as we started down the journey.
So Kristian, although you're at Ab Initio now, at that time you were Lisa's technology partner. Can you give us your perspective on the execution and the role of Ab Initio and some of the challenges that you faced technically, maybe a little bit more deeper detail than we just went over?
Sure. Yeah. So it was kind of a once in a career type technology transformation event, and we had a history with Ab Initio, new, and but in the typical Ab Initio style, let's prove it. Multiple POCs, and how can we play to the strengths of the platform? And to Lisa's point, we were able to kind of reinvent the airplane without landing it. It's kind of a good analogy. And a lot of the Ab Initio platform allowed us that kind of flexibility to pull off something like that without any kind of impact to our customers. And two other things that really stood out was the just the depth of the partnership. People on site, one team couldn't tell if you were a TU associate or an Ab Initio associate, and it was personal for everybody. And TransUnion wins was Ab Initio's win. And it's just never experienced anything like that in my career as a technology professional.
Yeah, it's a funny company in the way that a lot of people listening to us now may never have heard of Ab Initio, or they have some peripheral understanding as maybe Ab Initio is ETL or something like this, but they don't understand that the company doesn't do this traditional marketing outreach and really doesn't bother to correct misunderstandings in the market. We like to engage with customers, and we will do these proof of concepts at no charge to the customer. We want to establish the value proposition. We want to prove to ourselves that this is going to be successful. And then once we pass the POC, we'll move heaven and earth to make successful, because we've grown entirely by word of mouth, which is why we're in 40 countries these days. And we continue to grow, not by the traditional channels, but by focusing on delivering for customers. It's kind of an old-fashioned model, but it's working for us. So let me turn back to Lisa right now. So what's the net result? We had a slide that was showing the growth in share price, which has essentially tripled since the transformation was nominally finished. But where is TransUnion now, and what's current thinking about the road ahead for you, and how do you see Ab Initio helping?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I mean, I would love to have Spark take 100% credit for the triple in share price, but that's probably not 100% attributable to Spark, but we were certainly a big catalyst for it. Yeah. I think first and foremost, we did exit our mainframe stack completely, which I think, to Kristian's point about a once in a lifetime event, that it's pretty hard to do that, and not a lot of companies do that. And I think that's important, and that has certainly helped us kind of grow and change that technology cost trajectory, so that those are growing not as fast as our revenue is growing, creating that shareholder value that we're looking for. But more important for me was the culture it created. It created a culture at TransUnion of innovation and confidence, and really sparked this era of our technology evolution story continuing. I think there's a lot of confidence now to say we will move to the cloud, and we'll exit our on-premise data centers because of what we learned in Spark and what we saw and the benefits that we set up. And part of we've named our cloud technology strategy, or our cloud evolution program, Project Rise, which I think really speaks to, it's kind of just continuing this evolution, taking us to the next level, continuing to do it with our GT, our global technology associates, and our talent, so that we can continue to be top-notch specialists and technologists, and really be the place where people want to come work in the market, while we're continuing to innovate for our product and analytics teams and our customers, and see what we can deliver.
And I'd add, one of the most refreshing things was total confidence. What does this make business sense? Not, is this technology is gonna take too long? Is it gonna be too slow? Is it gonna be too expensive or too hard? Now it's just about what do we want to do, and does it make sense for all parties, versus there's just certain things we shouldn't think about doing because that'll be really hard or really expensive. It was, again, once in a lifetime kind of culture pivot for TransUnion. It's just an amazing time.
Yeah.
So, Kristian, staying on you, GDS, could you bring up our second slide? This is the architecture slide. And maybe, Kristian, you could maybe talk about, this is an ab initio reference architecture, but could you maybe highlight aspects of the architecture?
Sure. Well, and that was, there's such kind of breadth and depth with the ab initio platform. It really enabled us to instantiate some kind of key concepts. So we really only wanted one place to acquire and manage and maintain and link the data versus I've got multiple businesses with multiple siloed data platforms. Single place to acquire and manage the data, and then replicate or publish kind of fulfillment appropriate views of the data, whether it's a low latency, high volume transaction processing system, an analytical data lake, or a batch fulfillment environment that's punching out tens of billions of records a day. But we had one way we acquired the data and then could publish it in a way that was appropriate for very different use cases versus having a different data pipeline or acquisition channel for each fulfillment environment. Other key concepts was, I've always, Lisa and I talked about this, but I always like to build and support systems that others operate. And with the platform being so metadata driven, you can have common reusable components that basically receive their instructions from metadata. And that allows you to put user interfaces in front of very complex systems, and the data experts, the operations experts, they configure and maintain the actual day-to-day running of the systems without being beholden to IT to actually have to, better get that in the Scrum backlog. There's a little tweak there. The systems were very metadata configurable and much less beholden to IT and major releases to add product functionality or new customer-facing capabilities. And that's just something so intrinsic to the ab initio platform that we were able to really leverage.
Yeah, I think, and this is worth elaborating on for the audience, that a lot of people are now aware of metadata. They may be, as the banking in particular, be thinking about metadata as critical for regulatory reporting to explain where numbers come from. Ab initio does that and has a complete metadata management for managing data quality, implementing controls around data and lineage so you can understand it. But what we're really talking about here in the TransUnion case is another role for metadata. Metadata to configure applications for reuse, just as you're saying. And we believe that this is going to create, in the digital economy, increased business agility through reuse, greater speed to market, greater agility. As you were saying earlier, you don't feel constrained anymore. If you have an idea, you can try it out quickly. You can test and learn and adapt. And this, I think, is going to be the critical muscle memory that's needed for businesses in the 21st century as we're going forward. And this metadata differentiator, to be able to configure and drive applications architecture through metadata, is something that ab initio uniquely does. It's not a static pipeline. It's a dynamic pipeline that the business can configure and reuse for new purposes. So we're approaching the point of the show when we're supposed to open ourselves up to questions. We've made a couple of statements, a couple of assertions. I just want to just put the challenge statement out there, if you haven't drawn the association already, that you banks are in a very similar business to TransUnion. They are processing information. You're processing information. You need to understand when you're lending money or you're making deposits, the risk associated with that in asset liability management and credit and market risk management. This ability to absorb data, to use data to drive business results is a common phenomenon. And hopefully the success story at TransUnion is inspiring you because this digital transformation is possible and it delivers material results. So let's open the floor to any questions to probe us. And no sacred cows here. You can ask us any questions at all.
Where do you think the advantage lies now? So if we talk about digital innovation, we talk about moving forward, do you think the advantage lies with established banks, with new starters, fintechs, or with big tech, with Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc.?
Yeah, so this is a common question, and I think execution is everything here. The banks have tremendous data resources. Every bank has tremendous data resources. Their ability to organize and utilize those data resources is the challenge here. There's also the cultural change to run in a test and learn culture rather than run as a post office. Okay, we try to help our customers understand that executing a digital transformation is not a technical mission. That's the tip of the iceberg. The larger thing is how to enable business control, business self-service to do this test and learn in marketplace. The fundamental challenge is that the future is unpredictable. There was a small cadre of epidemiologists who remember the Spanish flu who said something like this was possible. But most banks, most businesses did not expect this black swan event to happen. And black swan events happen all too often in this crazy interconnected world that we have today. So this ability to adapt to change, which a dynamic, agile data environment can give you, is, we think, the difference that's going to be like an evolutionary pressure on banks and fintechs. Fintechs have a role in this marketplace. Many of our banking customers are adapting and integrating with them. But we really do believe that the business of banking is fundamentally about trust. It's the reason that bank branches look like Greek temples, to make you think they've been around for 2,500 years. Banks have to deliver on trust. They have to manage data assets and deliver for the customers. There's a change in culture that's extremely possible. I'm not saying that a fintech can't completely disrupt the marketplace, because that's happened. Quicken Loans, for example, is now the #1 U.S. mortgage originator. So big changes are possible, but banks have to change. How did Quicken grow to be the scale and success that they are? By reimagining the mortgage experience. It's thinking about customer experiences, managing customer journeys through their transition states. That is possible, but we have to break out of product silos. We have to maybe even break down the notion of product P&L to think about how to organize better around customers.
Lisa, Ed, Kristian, Ed. Lisa, thank you very much indeed. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Take care. Have a great rest of the day. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.